Kia ora te whānau, so this will be my second little intro, still on week one readings. The bit of a material that was given was the first video there talking about the concept of positionality and how it relates to research. So there's three points that they bring up about positionality, but first this is going to be a part of, so I was just looking at some of the requirements for the reflective journal. You need to have like a glossary of your favorite terms, and this is probably going to be my first term that I'm going to put into the Kupu bank, or the word bank that I'm just going to call it the Kupu bank. For I'm going to have So positionality is thus determined by where we stand in relation to the other. So I like positionality because ever since I've watched this video, I've used it quite a lot. Just talking all the time about anything, talking about positionality and who we are to say or to talk about kaupapa. So they talk about three things. They talk about the insider, outsider, access, and power. So I'll go over insider and outsider. So it talks about who you have to first know who you are. Like I'll give you an example. Like a Frenchman doing a research on Te Ao Māori is an outsider looking in on research because he's not Māori. Maybe he was a tāne and he was looking at wahine, that means they're the opposite sex. He doesn't live here. He hasn't grown up with the tikanga in Te Ao Māori, so he's an outsider to what he's looking at. And I think this is really important, how it apply it to my research. Which is good that I'm an insider looking in, and that it doesn't, I'm not there to put our people under a microscope and look at them as if I was above them. It's good to know, as an insider, I feel like doing a research, say if I was doing a research about the First Nations, Canada First Nations, is that I'd find it really hard to know what terms to use and sort of the tikanga, because there's so many layers underneath the base stuff. So they talk about on there a cake. You look at the cake, you can see the icing on the outside, but inside there could be heaps of different layers of cake and heaps of cream filling. For an example from Te Ao Māori, or we take our hats off during karakia. We take our shoes off when we go inside. You could, if I was a researcher, not from here, I'd just go, oh yeah, they're tikanga, they don't wear shoes inside because, they didn't have shoes back in the day. You could make some silly assumptions without knowing the layers of mātauranga and tikanga behind it. Like we take our shoes off to show manaakitanga because our whare is the #1 place that we go to. We don't drag in all the dirt, we leave everything behind as we transcend into the whare, into the manaakitanga of our marae, and that's why we take our shoes off. So unless you have that insider knowledge to per se, you don't know the layers of stuff that goes behind it, and if you're writing about it or doing research on it, you might not fully grasp the reasonings behind the things people do. The next one leads into access. So as an outsider, I feel it'd be hard to access. Like if I was trying to access the First Nations first to do some interviews or something like that, I'd have to know somebody, and then I need to know if they were actually, they weren't just talking rubbish to me and stuff like that. But as an insider looking in, you have access to everything, right? Kaumātua, I talked about previously about the first reading. The Cody searching for the bone needle, talking about elders and kaumātuans, that you have access to all of the kaumātua, you have access to the awa, you have access to the maunga, you have access to karakia. So as an insider, you already have access to all of that stuff. So depending on your positionality, being an insider, right, you have access to stuff. And that brings to the last point with power, which I've sort of touched upon about the inside and outside and putting our people under a microscope. So when we were being researched back in the day by European researchers, they would, as they're doing research on us, they would give them self-power, as if they're doing the research. They know, oh, right, they take their head off I know why. Yeah, we know we were gaining information on you guys. We're collecting the information, and we're getting the upper hand because we know about you guys. Yeah, so that's positionality. Really intriguing kupu that I use all the time. Even talking about from iwi to iwi stuff. Some of my mates will be talking to me. You know, we had the pokai on and this, and one guy stood up on the pai and he said this. And from my positionality, I find it harder to comment, as I'm an outsider looking into that iwi. I can't comment on the way he spoke at the pai or what kōrero he talked about, because really I'm an outsider looking in, and it just made me really think about my research topic and how sort of fortunate I am that I want to do research on Māori, and that my positionality allows me to have a better grasp on the kaupapa Māori, tikanga, and yeah, rangaho Māori. So yeah, kia ora. That's my first kupu for the Kupu Bank.